Alrighty, so today we are going to do a video where we're going to look at one player from each MLS team that deserve to be in the MLS All Star Game. Because as I mentioned in that video talking about the MLS All Star roster and the unveil, and also look at the snubs in terms of not making it into this year's MLS All Star roster, there's only a limited amount of roster spot in terms of the team that make up the MLS All Star versus the Liga MX All Star, which means that not every single team is going to have a representative. In fact, for some team, it's been quite a while since they have a representative for the MLS All Star team in quite some while. But in this video, we're just kind of in this alternative reality. The fact that every single team has to have a representative. This is pretty much very similar to what we see in the MLB and in the NHL as well, where you have to mandatorily have one representative in the MLS All Star game. And for some of these teams, it was pretty easy in terms of coming up with players that I think that deserve to be an All Star game. But as you get to some of these teams that are not doing very well this season, yeah, it gets a little tough in terms of who I pick in terms of being on the All Star team. And you could say that some of these players probably are not anywhere close to being All Star level. But like I said, we have to at least pick one representative out of the team. And this is just kind of my opinion in terms of who exactly it is, even with some of these bad teams right now in MLS. And speaking of which, let us begin, and we're gonna go alphabetically order. We're gonna start with Atlanta United. It's gonna be Brad Guzan. So I'm gonna go with Brad Guzan. I was thinking about maybe putting Miguel Almiron there. Obviously, I'm not gonna put Emmanuel Latte Laugh there because, yeah, let's just say his season has been kind of forgettable. And the same goes with that $50 million attack. I mean, they have been having a regrettable season, and when you look at anywhere else, I mean, there's not really any standout players out there. So I decided to just go with Brad Guzan because as inconsistent as he is, he has had some big games out there, making some big saves, especially in the game against Inter Miami. It seems like he's kind of the new fodder of Inter Miami with the way that he's been making some big save, and especially his Messi worst nightmares. So because of that and because of the profile, I think Brad Guzan, of course, deserved to be in the All Star game representing Atlanta. For Austin, I'm gonna go with Owen Wolf. So again, Austin has some very controversial All Star selection. The one that is not controversial, of course, is Brad Stewart. I think he deserved to be in the All Star game. The very controversial one is Brandon Vasquez, and especially if you want to know who is probably the least deserved to be in the All Star roster this year, it's got to be Brandon Vasquez. I mean, it's not even close. His number is clearly not All Star level, and really the only reason why he was picked there is because Nico Estevez has to kind of shoehorn one of his player into this team as kind of a hometown hero for this All Star game. But I think if he had a redo there, I would say he would pick Owen Wolf. I think Owen Wolf has had a really good season so far, very under the radar kind of season so far for this Los Verdes team, and that I think there's no doubt he would be a way better option to represent Austin alongside with Brad Stuver than maybe Brandon Vasquez would be for this team. Now, looking at Charlotte, I'm gonna go with Pepe L. It was very tempting to put Christian Kalina, but Christian Kalina has had a down year this season. I mean, that whole defense has kind of had a down year this season as well, which is kind of the reason why I didn't pick any defender in that Charlotte back line. So instead, I'm going to go on the attack again because the attack, while it is definitely it's not as good as it should be, it's still pretty decent. I was very tempted to put Wilfred Zaha being there because Zaha has definitely played much better recently. It's kind of interesting that he has played much better ever since he kind of sound off a little bit on social media and kind of rubbed fans the wrong way. But I'm gonna go with Pep Biel because easily he's the most important player in that Charlotte attack, and he would be a perfect replacement compared to Patrick Ajiman, who again, if I had to pick a Charlotte representative, I didn't think Patrick Ajiman was going to be the one, but I guess he kind of got lucked out because that was one of the commissioner pick that Don Gabber picked to send one of his two players to the MLS All Star game. Then we look at FC Cincinnati, or actually no, before we go to Cincinnati, we got to look at Chicago. I'm gonna go with Hugo Kuipers. So Zikanago, of course, is the Fire representative, but I'm gonna go with Kuipers as well. Kuipers is just as important as Zikanago there. Kuipers, of course, leading the team in terms of goal scoring. Yes, there are some inconsistency throughout this season for him, but at the same time, he is still already reached 10 plus goal, and he could be a guy that could be in the hunt for the Golden Boot as well. So add to the factor of that, I think he definitely deserved to be considered to be an All Star. Not that Zinchenko doesn't deserve it. I think Zinchenko has deserved every way, and especially he's kind of proving it too in his recent performance, doing very well with the Chicago Fire side. And then for FC Cincinnati, I am shocked that this is not an all. He is not an All Star. I mean, Kevin Denke, he is a guy that I think if it wasn't for the incredible season that Under Dryer is also having this season for San Diego, Kevin Denke would definitely be legitimately be hands down potentially the newcomer of the year. And I have a feeling he and Dryer might be considered to be the finalists, and it will be interesting to see who, of course, win. Most likely, I think it's going to be Dryer considered they're the numbers that Dryer has produced, and the goal contribution is a little bit higher than what we see with Kevin Denke. But that being said, Denke has been huge for the Cincinnati team over the season. He's been advertised in terms of the big money signing, unlike a certain number 9 that is going on in Atlanta United, and that yeah, I mean there's a lot of confidence in his game right now in Cincinnati. It's safe to say they finally found the right number 9 and the first good number 9 that they had since Brendan Vasquez left this team. Then we look at the Colorado Rapids. I'm gonna go with Georgi Mihailovic. I would go with Zach Steffen, but I think Zach Steffen is currently injured, and I'm not quite sure if he's going to be ready in time in terms of the MLS All Star Game. So I do take injuries into consideration as well. I'm not going to pick a player that is currently injured, and I know that is probably going to be injured during the All Star Game. There's really no point picking them because they're not really going to represent their team if they're injured. So instead, I'm going to go with Georgi Mihailovic. I mean, he is the keystone to this Colorado Rapids team. It's been that way for the past couple years, and it's once again the case this season. He is one of the most underrated number 10 in this league. He is the guy that pulls the string to this Rapid side, and without him, yeah, things doesn't won't look so good for this Rapids team, especially on the attack. Then we look at Columbus. For Columbus, they did had a couple of nominations, but I'm gonna go with Patrick Schulte as a nomination. There was a lot of players on this team I could have included in this team. I could have gone with Mo Farsi. I could even gone with Sean Swatsky, some underrated kind of players that deserve to be there. I could have also even gone with Jason Russell Roa as well, alongside with Diego Rossi. And I think there was another player that was an All Star game. I think Max Arfston also made it to the All Star game. There was endless player that I could have chose for Columbus, but instead I'm gonna go with Patrick Schulte because again he made it to the U.S. men's national team, albeit as a third choice goalkeeper. And one thing I will say about Schulte is that we'll see whether or not if he's gonna be healthy enough. And this is where I remember how I said I'm not gonna pick an injured player. I'm just gonna assume Schulte will be back ready before the season, because if that's not the case, I might think about changing that. In fact, probably might just change that to Jason Russell Rowe or even Mo Farsi as well, with the performance that this Columbus team has had. Then we look at DC United, and this is where it gets really tough because yeah, I gotta say for DC this was probably one of the tougher ones because anytime when you get to these bad teams, it's hard to pick who deserve to be an All Star. But I'm gonna put Christian Benteke just because I feel like I copped out on this one because it's pretty easy to put Benteke. He is literally the main life source for this DC team on the attack end, and I'm pretty sure they'll be very happy the fact that they got him back after suffering through some injuries. But yeah, Benteke deserved to be an All Star. I think he was an All Star last season, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, he did win the Golden Boot after all, so he has to be an All Star. So I think he's going to be an All Star again. And before the injuries that he suffered, he was the most lethal weapon on the attacking end for this DC side. Then we look at FC Dallas. This one might surprise you, but I'm gonna go with Martin Pass. You would have thought I put Peter Musa, didn't you? And I would have given honorable shout to Peter Musa as well. He's definitely finding his goal scoring touch again. But I'm gonna go with Martin Pass mainly because again, he's a very underrated goalkeeper. I mean, he has had some big games out there, big saves as well. The game against the Quakes, yes, I know he gave up 4 goals in that one, but he comes up big multiple time in that one. And the goals that he conceded, there was really not much he can do at any of it. It was just simply his defense completely hung him out to dry. And you could even argue that with the way that this Dallas defense that has been very shaky at time, if it wasn't for Martin Paz, it probably could have been worse than what we see with this Dallas defense and the goal allowed that they have. Then we look at the Houston Dynamo. I'm gonna go with Jack McGlynn. Could have gone with Griffin Dorsey for this one, but I'm gonna go with Jack McGlynn, and I think that the Dynamo they haven't really made a lot of good trade doing this off season. If any good trades that is, but adding Jack McGlynn was definitely the right piece, and we're starting to seeing that as well. And it's good to see Jack McGlynn has really excelled now with the Houston Dynamo. I just kind of had a feeling the fact that he needs to go somewhere else to potentially be the star of the team and be the orchestra. And boy, has he been the orchestra of this Houston Dynamo side. He's been very good and very excelling in that role to a point where if he keep this up, there will definitely be some European interest and maybe a national team call up in the near future as well. Now, looking at Sporting KC, I'm gonna go with Dejan Joveljic. I could have gone with Manu Garcia in this one. Hell, I could have even gone with John Postcamp in this one as well. John Postcamp has had really solid run, and this is a guy that heading into the season there was a lot of question about him and a lot of doubters because of how he performed previous year. But I think he has definitely proven to be the good replacement for Tim Melia. Now, is he anywhere close to Tim Melia quality? Absolutely not. It's very hard to replace one of the greatest goalkeeper in MLS history in Tim Melia between the stick. But I think John Postcamp has done a pretty good job so far this season. But at the end of the day, I got to go with Dejan Joveljic. And again, talk about injuries itself. We'll see how long that injury that he suffering near the end of the last game is going to be. But other than that, he was definitely a vital piece for the Sporting KC side. Now, if he's injured for a bit, I would have gone with Manu Garcia in terms of that spot. I think he's definitely showing his worth this season. And, he got off to a slow start. That's kind of usually the case when you have players coming into this league and coming into a new country for the first time. But once he settled in, he has formed a really good partnership between him and Joveljic and also other number nines as well. I mean, again, if Joveljic is injured, I would say Marno Garcia is definitely a deserved shout to be going to the All Star game from a Sporting KC team's perspective. Then we look at LAFC, and for LAFC, we already saw Denis Bouanga being the All Star player in this one. I could have gone with a couple of the defenders on this team as well. I could have gone with Eddie Segura, who has had a pretty good season so far, but I'm going to go with Mark Delgado. I think he's been very flying under the radar. By the way, I could have even gone with Ryan Hollinshead in this one. He's also had a really solid season as well, but at the end of the day, I'm going to go with Mark Delgado. He has had a really under the radar kind of season. He's been having a good season in a season that, yeah, I think the Galaxy fans are pretty much regret that they let him go instead of keeping Marco Royce. I think it's safe to say that the other LA team is really enjoy his presence, and as a result, I think he definitely deserved to be a shout to be in the All Star game. Speaking of the LA Galaxy, so I'm gonna put Marco Royce there. And again, this is another one of those teams where I kind of copped out because I just can't think on any of these players on this Galaxy side that deserve to be an All Star game. It clearly can't be Gabriel Peck because had a really dismal season. It definitely cannot be Joseph Painso, who has just completely fell off the cliff this season. And then when you look at the other part of this team, I mean, the midfield looks abysmal as well. The defense is even worse as well. They don't really have a legit number nine on this team as well. It's been kind of a revolving door, and even the goalkeeping spot is as a revolving door as well. So at the end of the day, I decided to do a little bit of a cop out. I'm gonna go with Marco Royce just because of the namesake that is. I mean, it is the All Star game, and you want to bring in the big names, and we've seen it in this All Star game. There are players that simply are probably there just because of the namesake, and Marco Royce would definitely be the player to do so. And last time I checked, he is actually healthy. and we'll see whether or not if he is going to be healthy in time for the All Star game. If he is maybe going to be there to replace an injured player, because I have a feeling the league is probably thinking about bringing him in, especially the name recognition. Then we look at Minnesota. For Minnesota, there were definitely a couple that I could have chose. Obviously, Dane Sinclair and Michael Boxall get the nod here. I could have gone with Robin Lod for this team because of how good Robin Lod has been once again for this Minnesota side. But I'm gonna go with Tani in this one. Let me just make sure I spell his name right because it's really hard to pronounce his name. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Tani Oloishai as the guy to do so. He's been the guy that's been surprisingly carrying the mantle in terms of the goal scoring lately, because everybody talk about Calvin Yoboa being the player, and in the beginning of the season that was kind of the case, but lately it's now shifted toward Tani Oloishai. He's been the main guy that has been the goal scorer for this Minnesota team, and I'm hoping that continue heading into the second half of the season, because the one thing I am worried about Tani is the fact that yes, he did score a wonderful goal in one of the Gold Cup games for Canada, but for the most part he didn't look that good with the Canadian national team, and we saw what happened when he didn't look good for the Canadian national team and came back to Minnesota, just kind of never replicate that form, and we're hoping that that's not going to be the case again this season. Hopefully, he will continue the goal scoring threat that he's shown for the first half of the season. I can also maybe even gone with Yoboa as well, though Yoboa has kind of been on the struggle bus a little bit, although he has started to get things heated up again. He did score a goal in the last game as well, so that's definitely big. Now, looking at Inter Miami, I can easily gone with Luis Suarez in this one. I could have even gone with Sergio Busquets in this one. I could have just gone with Barcelona players, but nope. Instead, I'm gonna go with their goalkeeper, Oscar Rosari. Yes, I am gonna go with their goalkeeper for this one. By the way, shout out to Lesko Segovia as well. He's been pretty good as well. And same goes for Orlando, even though there's been some criticism about his play. He has had his hot and cold moment this season, but for the most part, he has scored some crucial goal for this Inter Miami side. But that goes the same for Oscar Ostari. Yes, he was pretty bad doing that bad run form that Inter Miami has back in May. But if you ignore that and look what he did in the rest of the season, including what we saw in the Club World Cup, just absolutely world class. I mean, he is a guy that has make big save after big save time and time again, and I think he definitely deserved a shout to be the represented All Star for this Inter Miami team, and not one of those Messi and some of his other friends to potentially represent the MLS All Star as well down in Austin. Then we go to Montreal, and again, this is another team that is really tough for me to come up with. And what's tougher is that there's not really any standout or big name player I can instantly throw into that mark. I could have maybe gone with Caden Clark, but then I realized that he's actually injured right now. So instead, I'm gonna go with their top goal scorer, Prince Owusu. And for Prince Owusu, it's kind of hard to believe he is the top goal scorer of this team. He actually has scored a fair amount of goals, 7 goals so far for this Montreal side. Yes, he has had his problems at times finishing in front of goal. That's kind of the frustration that TFC fans have with him. But I think this season he's definitely doing much better. And consider the lack of the chances and the lack of service that he has, and he's still are able to score goals like that. Yeah, I think he definitely deserve to be on this all star team. And again, when you look at everywhere else, there's not really any players that I would think come even anywhere close. Maybe Nathan Saliba, though. Again, Nathan Saliba has already left this team, and that I'm not going to include players that is going to be transferred out before the All Star game because they're not going to be available as the when the game is happening. Then we look at Nashville SC. Yeah, this one I already mentioned it already. It's got to be Sam Surridge. I mean, this if you want to talk about the biggest snub so far in this MLS All Star game, I mean, some will say Kevin Danke, but I'm gonna say Sam Surridge mainly because how can you left the Golden Boot leader right now from the All Star game? Like that sounds criminal in terms of it, and this is where the criticism kind of gone in terms of the number 9 spot, the spot that is occupied with the likes of Patrick Ajiman and Brandon Vasquez, two guys that have been pretty woeful so far this season, and you left out the Golden Boot leader right now out of the All Star game. Yeah, just a lot of disrespect that is going on with Sam Surge. Him and Hani Mukhtar has just been on a tear this first half of the season, and the fact that neither of them are representing the team in Austin and representing the MLS All Star as well, absolutely criminal in my opinion. Then we look at New England. I'm gonna go with defender. I'm gonna go with Mamadou Fofana, another guy that is very underrated. Not a lot of people heard about him, but he's been very solid as well. He's been an absolute rock in that defensive front. He's been kind of the leader in terms of why that New England team is one of the toughest team to break down. They've conceded among the fewest amount of goals that any team has conceded this year. Sure, the goal scoring has been definitely a big problem for this team. And also, I know some people might say I might put Carlos Hill. I don't think Carlos Hill has had a spectacular year so far. Yes, he at times he kind of carried the team a little bit, but he's been okay in the standard. Not a peak kind of Carlos Hill that we've seen over the years. So as a result, I got to give respect to the defense, and I could have also gone with Ivasic with the way that Ivasic has been pretty good so far this season as well. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna go with Mamadou Fofana because he's really the leader in that defense, and really it's kind of the heart and soul of why this is one of the toughest defensive team to crack. Then we look at the New York Red Bulls. And this is another player that I'm really surprised did not make it to the team. I mean, Emil Forsberg is the star of this Red Bulls team. Now, yes, I think the reason why they probably didn't, a lot of fans didn't pick them, or even Nico Estevez didn't pick them, is because is he going to be even healthy by the time the All Star game is? Him trying to stay healthy has been a problem during his time with the Red Bulls, but when he's healthy, yeah, he is an electric player. I think between him and Choupo-Moting, those two guys are really what the driving force on the attack. And for the most part, it seems like what's kind of interesting is that Choupo-Moting has been able to stay healthy for a bit long while. He hasn't suffered any injuries whatsoever, and we'll see whether that kind of can continue because there was definitely question about his durability as the season goes along. But there's no doubt that, like I said, the heart and soul of this team is going to always go through email for Frostberg. And the fact that, again, it's a big name kind of player, I would have expected him to maybe had a shout to be in the All Star game. But no, that is not going to be the case. Now, look at NYCFC. It's got to be Matt Freese. I mean, this is not even close. I mean, some might say Alonso Martinez because he is the top goal scorer of this team. But the frustrating thing about Alonso Martinez this season is that he should be scoring more goals than he needs to, and he's been having a lot of problem in terms of his finishing. So instead, I got to go with Matt Freese because, yeah, I mean, Matty Ice, as they call him, we know what he did against Costa Rica in that penalty kick shootout. He has really made himself a name not only in the club level but now in the national team level as well, and the fact that he's not even in the discussion of being in the All Star game. And one thing I know about this All Star game is I've seen a couple of players that are also national team kind of players that got rewarded not only being the national team level but also in these MLS All Star games. So why not Matt Freese get himself deserve a spot at as well. Now looking at Orlando City, I'm gonna go with Martin Ojeda. I could have gone with either Cesar Arujo or even Marco Pasalic as well, who has just been almost a like for like replacement for Facu Torres that they lost la- last season. But I'm gonna go with Martin Ojeda. I mean Ojeda, even though he is not scoring at almost like every single game as we saw in May. I mean that run in May where he's been scoring at will. I don't know if he can potentially replicate that. But one thing he is still replicating is the fact that he's also still pulling the string of this team. I mean, just an absolute amazing player to see, and a guy that very underrated in my opinion, as well. Probably deserved to be in the All Star game in this one just because of the underrated ability that he has. Now, looking at the Philadelphia Union, it's going to be Kyle Wagner, and this is another one that is really surprised that got left out. Kyle Wagner is been one of the best crosser and one of the top assist fullback player in MLS for the past couple of years, and it's kind of the same case again with the Union. So the fact that he doesn't get a chance to be in the MLS All Star game, despite once again putting some great numbers that deserve to be All Star level. Very surprised to see, especially in the fullback position. That's kind of one position that I would have assumed that guys like Kyle Wagner would at least deserve a spot being there, but no, that's not the case. Instead, he's not even in there in terms of being in the All Star game. Now, moving on, and I just realized I wrote the Philadelphia Union twice here, so let me just erase that. And now we're gonna get to the Portland Timbers. We go with Anthony. So I could have easily gone with Felipe Mora. I could have also gone with Santi Moreno as well. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna go with Anthony because in the limited quality that he has had, he's been exceptional. He's been scoring goals. He's actually the top goal scorer of this team this season as well. He's also contributing on the assist chart, and a guy that, again, another player that is very underrated, very flying under the radar as well, that I think definitely deserve to be an all-star player. Then we look at RSL, and this is again where it gets tough again because when you look at this RSL team, I mean Diego Luna is already chosen as the all-star player, and he was definitely the guy that I think if there was actually one player that I would have chose that probably would have been snuffed out of this all-star game, it's going to be Diego Luna, but he got selected, so yeah, I got to pick somebody else because I can't pick players that is already going to be representing in the all-star game that already got picked. So instead, I'm going to go with the goalkeeper, Rafael Cabral. Again, another goalkeeper that is very underrated. You're starting to see the trend that I like picking goalkeepers, especially underrated goalkeepers to represent the All Star game. And it's tough to, in this format where, how many goalkeeper I've like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and six already in terms of the goalkeeper there. And there's going to be more by the way because I'm looking at the list and I think I have one more goalkeeper that is there. But yeah, it's tough for me to not pick goalkeepers because there are some really underrated goalkeeper, and Cabral is one of them. I think he has done a really good job to a point where I think even when Zach McMath is going to be healthy, I don't think he's going to get that number one spot back. I think Cabral has not only been a solid player, but even though he's more used as a placeholder, he's a guy that has definitely won that number one job for this RSL team. Then we look at San Diego, and San Diego, we already saw a lot of players that's already been selected for this team. Guys like Trivio Lozano has already been selected. Andres Dreyer has already been selected. I think there's one more San Diego player that I've forgotten somewhere out here that also got selected. Yeah, Yepe Verskov. That was the player that I was thinking of. But I'm gonna go with a guy that has just been in incredible form lately, and this is just based on these recent form and also what he has done coming off the bench. You got to put Milan Ilaski there. If anything, you can just put him coming off the bench because, like I said, this is a guy that has that very Elzinho level kind of vibe in him, where he can come off the bench and score goals at will. And even when he started in his first start, I mean that 4 goal games that was just a stuff of legend. So just for the fun and just kind of a guy that just kind of almost kind of completely came out of nowhere and really they started to score goals for fun. You got to pick Milan Ilaski being there. You got to pick him alongside with all these San Diego players that have already been picked to be representing in this All Star game this year. Then we look at the San Jose Earthquakes. It's got to be Christian Espinoza. And again, I think between him and Denke and also who was it? Sam Surridge and even Matt Freeze as well. Christian Espinosa is going to be right up there in terms of the list of players that got snubbed that deserve to be in the All Star game. I mean, what Espinosa done with the Quakes this season. He's been one of the most consistent player and probably the most underrated playmaker in this league. I can't believe how well the numbers that Christian Espinosa has put year and year for this Quakes team. And I think the only reason why a lot of people don't see him good is because he's part of a Quakes team that has been pretty irrelevant for most of the time that he's been there. But when you watch him play, like I have every single week, there's just something special about him. Yes, I know that he has had some poor games out there, and I think the game that he had in the Cal Clasico that definitely wasn't one of his best performance. But the game against Dallas, he was definitely on in that one. So yeah, I think Espinoza deserve a chance. Also, quick shout out to Bolaru as well, another guy that I think is kind of came out out of nowhere and has really done well. Kind of almost followed the same route that we saw with Alex Freeman, of course. I think he is now in the All Star game, if I'm not mistaken. Just kind of a kid that came out of nowhere, made himself a name, and next thing you know, he's now playing for the national team as well. Then we look at the Seattle Sounders, and it's hard to believe there's no Sounders player this year. Normally, we always get at least one Sounders player in the All Star game. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Albert Rusnak. Again, he's another player that there's been a lot of criticism with Albert Rusnak ever since he came fr- from RSL to the Seattle Sounders. He's not live up to that hype. And yes, in past years that of course is the case. I don't think you can say the same thing about this year. I mean, this year this is probably the best year that he has had with the Sounders. Feels like he finally has figured out Brian Schmidt's system, and now he's definitely front under it, very similar to the level that he was doing his time with Real Salt Lake. So yeah, again, it is kind of strange to not see a Sounders player represent. You usually see one or two players. You usually see maybe even on the defensive end like Yamar probably being there considering he's been one of the best defenders. But I think the reason why he's probably not there is because he's currently injured right now, and that Sounders back line is pretty decimated. So maybe that's kind of the reason why we don't see them there in the All Star game. And you can also put Jordan Morris there as well. In fact, I probably could have put Jordan Morris there, but again, he's also been injured a lot. He's just getting back into match fitness, so we don't know whether or not if he's going to be 100% healthy by the time that All Star game does happen. But I know for sure Albert Rusnak will be. Then we look at St. Louis, and St. Louis is another team that is kind of hard to pick a player because when you look at all the players out there, even players that really stand out last season, they have not done well whatsoever this season. In fact, most of those players have really underachieved. But I'm gonna go with Roman Berkey because again, it's kind of like a cop out. He is simply the most important player for the St. Louis side, and again, I do not blame if Roman Berkey decided to just simply quit on this St. Louis side, and not even think about re-signing with this team because of the amount of bailout job that he has had to do and the amount of time that he's been hung out to dry because of this bad St. Louis side. I mean, the last game against Orlando City, that was pretty much a prime example. Well, actually, I say last game, but this was like 2 games ago where he was just. I mean, to say that he got completely hung out to drive is an understatement. His defense was just non-existent in that game against Orlando City, and if it wasn't for him, that game could have been even more ugly than what the scoreline represents. So yeah, the former goalkeeper of the year is once again be at his best again. And imagine if he actually have a defense. I mean, if he has a defense, he would absolutely deserve to be in the All Star game. Then we look at the Vancouver Whitecaps. So this is another team that has a lot of representative in the MLS All Star. So I can't pick those guys that are there. Guys like Yohei Takoga, Brian White, and even Sebastian Berhalter. Can't pick those players because they've already represented the Whitecaps in the All Star game. So instead, I'm going to go with Pedro Vite. Pedro Vite has been just so important for this Whitecaps team, and we know how good he is. I mean, when he came into this league with the Whitecaps, we can see the raw talent that this team that or this player has got, and I think Jasper Sorensen has done a great job make him even better, and not only fulfill his potential, but really exceed what I envisioned he was going to be. He is just so vital both on the defensive and attacking point of this Vancouver Whitecap side. So yeah, he is definitely a guy that out of all those players that deserve to be in the All Star team. I mean, there's a lot of Whitecap stars you can definitely name that deserve to be on the All Star team, but the most obvious one has got to be Pedro Vite. He absolutely deserved to be in the All Star game with the work rate that he can put for this Whitecaps team time and time again. But there you have it. That is pretty much it when it comes to looking at every single team and looking at one players that I think deserve to be in the All Star game this year. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this video, and let me know in the comments below of your favorite team and what is a player of your favorite team that deserves to go to the All Star game if we're in an alternative universe where the MLS All Star game will have to at least have one teams have one representative, and that we'll probably get like an East versus West kind of format where instead of like a squad of 26 teams, you get like 52 player to represent on a 30 team, and that would at least give a chance for the league to kind of mandate the fact that, yeah, you have to at least pick player from your team to represent the MLS All Star heading into this All Star game. But like I said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.